Blessings, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today for the Activate the Superpower of Manifestation. So, I really do invite you to kind of put maybe everything that you think you know, or even all your experiences of manifesting, just put them on the back burner and just open up to the possibilities of what's beyond that, because that's really how we advance consciousness, is when we can really master that. So I want to first invite you to do that. And the other thing I'm going to do before we get too further in is I'm just going to mute everybody to get rid of the background noise. And I'm just really excited to see where this goes. I'm going to do this in a way that I don't normally do it. So it'll be new for me to bring you through. And I'm just going to open myself up to receiving the guidance of how to deliver this information in the highest frequency. And I'm just going to have you open your hearts to receiving it from that space, and that you hear exactly what you need to hear in order to walk away from this in, maybe just in a more open, positive, and ready to go and really live your heart's desire. And I mean that from a place of that divine intelligence within you. So let's get started. I am going to share my screen here. Okay, every time I see this slide, it just lights me up. And but this is the big question, right? From this moment forward, just in this moment, it doesn't have to be every moment, but in this moment, what are you here for? Are you here to have a human experience, or are you here to evolve what it is to be human? And then go ahead and just allow yourself to settle in to what that experience is as we go through the rest of these slides. Um, for me, I'll just put a little tidbit here. Is as we go through these slides, maybe reflecting a little bit on what is the difference between the human experience and evolving the human experience. And that's what I call bioquantum. Bioquantum is my way of saying the ascended human, the evolved human. It's what's next in humanity as we start to activate these frequencies within us and start advancing beyond what we think we know. It's time to open that box and really unravel all of the programming that we've agreed to. Okay. So the first thing I want you to settle into is, what is your intention? Because when we manifest, we focus on intention. In this case, your intention is going to be the starting point. I want you to see it as turning on a frequency. So when we have an intention, we have to just be real. It's going to come from our programming, right? A desire comes from our programming. And I keep having this weird pop-up come up. I'm going to just keep having it go away. So when we have an intention, we're releasing a frequency. So let's say the intention is, I want to live a healthier life. I want to manifest a life where I am healthy and happy. I feel good in my body. I am eating healthy. I'm exercising, all of these wonderful things that I know that are possible, right? And that's not how I'm living my life right now. That's an intention. My intention is to live a healthy lifestyle. In that moment, because it's not how and I do live my life. I'm just doing this throughout, like, and as an example. It may be that there's some things that you're doing to manifest that intention, and there may be things that you're not. But when we have an intention, what we're doing is we're activating a frequency within us that is at a higher frequency than what we're holding. Because otherwise, we'd already be doing it, right? So, whatever you're, okay, let's put it in another way of I want to manifest $10,000 a month. I want to manifest an income of $10,000 a month. Right now, I'm making this is actually a true story. I was actually talking about that this morning. That was an intention of mine at one time. I was a single mother. I had a kid in college and a huge rent payment. And I was making $1,800 a month. And I needed to make $10,000 a month. So that was an intention. The state of consciousness of $1,800 is very different than 10,000. Those are two different frequencies, right? So when we activate a frequency that's higher, we do that through intention. But guess what? Once we put the intention out there, we have to let it go and follow the intelligence that's within the frequency that was released. And that's what we're going to talk a little bit more about. Let's see. Oh, there we go. So, the first thing that we always want to be aware of when we are manifesting is what level of consciousness we're manifesting from. So, you're going to see on this screen at the bottom where it says unconscious in the primal body. This is when we are just not aware of where we're manifesting our life from. And a lot of times when we're in the state of consciousness, we're manifesting through primal programming, fear, um, reaction. We all have somebody, and I know we all have experienced it ourselves as well, when we are reacting to life. And you're always wondering, how are they going to show up today? You never know what you're going to get with somebody that's in primal programming because they react to life and it's an unconscious behavior. So, but if we're trying to manifest something from that state of consciousness, very little is going to happen. The second level of consciousness is the awakening, is when we wake up to something that we were unconscious of. And in this state, we are definitely experiencing what I call the chemical body. Because when we wake up, some of the things that we may be thinking are, oh my gosh, I actually have a choice in my life. Oh my gosh, I can live a life where I am making $10,000 a month. And we have this chemical released into our body because we have chosen to manifest something that's at a higher frequency than what we're holding. And in the beginning, it feels really good because we get excited about it. We're excited about what our life will be like when we have the $10,000 a month, and we are in the chemical response of the awakening. Then after a little bit of time, that chemical starts to wear off and we move into trying to make it happen. So we are looking at in the past, maybe what worked. We're listening to what worked for other people. We're projecting, well, if I project that $10,000 a month and I sit around and I pray about it and I think about it, I do my vision board and I change my mindset. All of this is going to be in the trying to make it happen state of consciousness. And I'm going to show you a slide here in a little bit that's going to explain this a little bit more. So just bear with me. This is connected to those neurotransmitters of the body, our programmed body, the behavioral body, you could say. Uh, it's going to be connected to the way that our brain is wired. But more than anything, you guys, it is connected to the programmed mind and the programmed body. This is the state of consciousness that most of us get stuck in and wonder why we can't manifest. Because we're trying to manifest from the same state of consciousness that created the reality we're already in. We may shift, and I'm going to show you a slide here in a little bit. We may shift into a slightly different reality, but it's still holding the same programming as the first one. And I'm going to come back to that one as well. I'm going to keep going here and we'll explain more. When we move out of the third level of consciousness, we move into the fourth level of consciousness. This is where I would love all of you to be, or at least focusing on from this moment forward. To move outside of our programming, we move into listen and do. What are we listening to? Source intelligence, that 963 that is in your DNA. It is stored inside of you. All we have to do is ask for it to turn on, and then we listen. But guess what? We can't stop there. We actually have to do. We listen and we take action. We listen and we take action. But we're not taking action because we think something. We take action because we're listening to an intelligence outside of our programming. And then I'll just very quickly tap on the fifth level of consciousness, which is creator creation. This is when we become the intelligence. In this state of consciousness, there is no gap between consciousness and the intelligence. We're not listening and doing anymore. We are the intelligence. And in this state, I won't spend a lot of time here because it is a very advanced state, but it's when we hear before we hear. We see before we see. We know before we know. There's no gap between consciousness and the intelligence that is running in your DNA right now. Okay, so we're going to do a little exercise. Some of you have done this one before. So what I want you to do is just take a moment and shut your eyes. And I want you to imagine a rainbow. Just imagine what a rainbow looks like. And if you are not someone that can visualize, just picture how you would picture a rainbow. All right, so pretty easy, right? Now, I want you to shut your eyes, connect to your heart space, really connect to your heart space, and I want you to ask the intelligence of Source to show you a rainbow. You're allowing the rainbow to come to you. That is the difference between the third level of consciousness and the fourth level of consciousness. One you are projecting, the other you are allowing. You're allowing it to come to you. When we project consciousness is when we stay in that third level of consciousness. And I'm going to go into a little bit of a story here. I won't go into the whole entire story, but this was a life-changing moment for me. A friend of our family's passed away, Vale. Some of you know of Vale. Sweet, such a master. Vale, yes, you are a master. He died on his 22nd birthday. And a few weeks after he died, he came to me and gave me an equation of cell ascension. But before he went into the ascension of the cell, he gave me a very similar image to what you're seeing. It was, I was seeing like kind of like from outer space looking down at the earth. And as I got closer, what he was showing me was the flower of life. And he was saying, it's inverted. This isn't how we're supposed to be experiencing life. And so what he started to show me is that because we are observing through our own programming, that we continually loop in another level of the matrix. And so you can see, so what he showed me is like, okay, so this right here would be a program. And then we have an intention, right? And we raise into it, raise our frequency. And then right when we think that we are creating another reality, because we were in an observation through our programming in order to create a new reality, we really just shift and move into another loop. And we just loop in another state of reality. Oops, I just pressed the button. Well, okay, we'll just move past that one. But I think you see the point of how easy it is to keep looping within the matrix. I think it's funny because Vale's like, all right, just move on, move on. All right, we're moving on, Vale. And so this is the other way that you can see this is most of us have the experience of consciousness in our minds, right? We have thoughts, that's our consciousness. We become aware of our thoughts, and we're trying to change our mindset. And I'm going to manifest this, I'm going to learn new things. And we are taught in the old paradigm to project consciousness, emotion, thoughts in order to manifest. Oh, just feel it until and until it happens, right? But we're projecting what it is that we want from our programming. We're projecting consciousness through our programming. And this is projecting thoughts, projecting emotions. We're projecting consciousness held in primal programming. We're literally projecting consciousness that is creating the matrix. It's creating our programmed reality. And just like the slide before, as soon as we think that we broke out of it, we're just moving into another loop. I'll leave it there. You may even reflect a little bit on, in the past when you've wanted to manifest something, it may work for a little while. And then all of a sudden, it doesn't work anymore. Or you may manifest some money for a little while, and then all of a sudden, you're back where you were. Or you actually break through and you're in this whole other looping cycle, but you still just don't feel great. You don't feel connected. You know, there's something more, that innate being that there's more to this reality than what I'm experiencing. Guess what? It's true. There is more to this reality that you should be experiencing. But the only way that we can move past these looping cycles is to move into an intelligence that's beyond the matrix. And that's giving me chills. I hope it gives you chills too. Okay. So let's just talk a little bit about how our reality is programmed. So yes, we're going to go on a cellular level because guess what? The operating system of your reality starts here on a cellular level. So the way that our cells are functioning right now in that looping cycle of the flower of life, the inversion of the cell, you could even call it, is that our cells are affected by our environment, our thoughts, what we eat, whether or not we exercise, where we live, even what altitude we live at, right? I found that out that people that live at a high altitude actually have I could don't I'm not a scientist, so if I'm saying this wrong, bear with me, but it's something about the people that live in a higher altitude have faster methylation of the cells. So basically they age faster. And I lived at 10,000 feet for 25 years. So that would be an environmental issue with the cell's environment. So, but because the cell is working in that way, I want you to see it as the DNA is going into the environment and hooking in and pulling information back in. So just like a fishing rod, it goes out into the environment, waits to hook into something, like in this case, a fish, and then it reels it back in, and then it finds out what it is. Well, that's what we do consciously as well. When we are looking to change our lives, we're looking out there for the answer. We're projecting our consciousness out there to wait for the universe to bring it to us, right? How many times have we said that? Oh, well, if I pray, the universe will bring it to me. Just feel in your body right now when I say that. Well, if I ask for it, the universe will bring it to me. Feel what happens in your body. Do you feel a shift that isn't necessarily a good one? It's like your body knows that that's not what's true. It's like we can say it's true up here and we can say, oh, well, if I keep praying, it's going to happen. But it's like something, at least for me, my body's like, no, that's not how you do it. It knows better. So maybe just pay attention to that. That could be something fun to play with. So this is how we turn on epigenetic codes. It's how we get stuck in looping cycles. It's how we get stuck in, you could say that karma is stored this way because we're reading our environment through the observation of programming. And our DNA, the way our cells are inverted, are doing the exact same thing. Where's your consciousness? In your body. And our cells are reading our environment in order to be told what to do. And your consciousness is following that. But this is only the 10% of the way that our cells should be functioning. Why? Because we're focused on the programmed experience of the body, the looping cycle of the body. So when we choose to start opening up to a new experience, our cells respond. When we start to, I'm getting chills. Like, I love this stuff, you guys. It's just like my body is just lighting up saying, yes, this is true. Yes, this is true. When we start to turn on that frequency of source, and how do we do that? We ask, show me what's beyond my experience. We have intention. Boom, that frequency is released in our DNA. What is our job? Is that we don't go hooking out there to find the answer. We start attuning to the frequency in our DNA. When we start to turn on DMT codes, is what I call them, or we start to activate those dormant codes in our DNA, the other 90% of our human potential starts to turn on, a frequency is released from our DNA and it moves into expression. So instead of the cell hooking into the environment to be told what to do, it starts to attune to a frequency that's stored in the DNA that's being released. And it's like, oh, I know that frequency. That's my innate being. That frequency is transcribed in my operating system. And the cell starts to identify in the frequency. And guess what happens? You start to raise in frequency. The average human body is right around 7.5 hertz. I'm going to say for most people, it's probably closer to 8.8 now. The physical form of your body is, let's say, 8.8 hertz. The frequency that is stored and transcribed in your DNA is 963. When that frequency starts to release from your DNA, your physical body starts to raise in frequency. Well, guess where your consciousness is? In your body. Your reality begins to shift. And you start to experience life more on a quantum level. Because your body starts to identify in frequency, it moves out of identifying in the programmed body, the programmed mind, the looping cycles. And it starts to identify in this frequency that's being released from your DNA. And that frequency has an intelligence, the intelligence of source. So when we are asking for an intention, it is our job to attune our consciousness to the intelligence that is being activated from within us. And that's not always easy, because to focus consciousness in something we can't see, that we don't understand, that isn't the programmed reality that we're so used to, it can be difficult. But you know what? If you're on this call, you are a master. This is what you came here to do. Feel that inside of yourself. Am I here to break the matrix? Am I here to break through the programmed reality of my body and of my life? Am I here to see just how powerful I am when I start to look at the other 90% of this frequency of who I am? When I start to look at the other 90% of a transcribed information that has an intelligence in my DNA, no, I can't see it. No, I can't hear it with my physical ears. Science can't measure it. Can we prove it? Absolutely. Let's do it, right? Let's do it. And I can say, I keep saying this. It's like, well, what is the proof? The proof is our experience. The proof is your experience. And we can measure things that start to happen when we do this. And I'm going to just share this really quickly. I just feel like at this point it's not even important anymore. But for some people it is. I took my telomere length from 37 years old to 19 years old in a little over 10 months. Our body knows it is not supposed to die. Our body knows that it can hold the frequency of source, and we are just on the cutting edge of what is possible there. Okay, that wasn't something that was important to me, because one of my passions is to optimize my body, is to have my operating system bypass what I think is possible of being human. And that was something that's the intelligence showed me. Hey, look what we did. And I followed the intelligence, right? Okay. So is there something else here that I want to say? Quantum body, I want you to kind of notice what this quantum body looks like. This is how I saw my quantum body when it started turning on. Literally like the inside of a computer system. I call it my divine technology, or my source technology, my quantum technology. Knowing that the intelligence is coming from the DNA. So you'll see these are the codes that are activating an intelligence, and then the cell is moving into expression, right? So we break out of the looping cycle of needing to pull things from outside of ourselves, and we turn on an intelligence for our consciousness to move into. All right, let's keep going. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide, though this is definitely going to be a part of my teachings moving forward. Once we start to activate the DNA and really start turning on that frequency of 963, there is something else that is happening. So you will see the flower of life here. In the center is a DNA that nobody really is talking about. So you guys are going to be the first to hear me talk about this. What I was shown is that there is a DNA that is in our mitochondria. And this is what I am calling the ascended DNA. Once we start to activate those frequencies of or the DNA that everybody's looking at, right? That junk DNA and all of that, we're turning it on. We're starting to master the quantum body. We're starting to hold consciousness in the frequency of source. And at the same time that's happening, there's something else that's activating, and that's the ascended DNA. The DNA in your mitochondria is a circle, it's a sphere, it's an operating system. And this is the thing I think is so fun, is that there are 43% more mitochondria in your heart than anywhere else in your body. It is opening a quantum portal for consciousness to be held in an ascended operating system where we can start to identify as frequency over form, that we literally start to identify as quantum. I'm not going to go too much more into it, but you can see what starts to happen is that the flower of life literally becomes the quantum operating system within our heart. Pretty cool image, right? Can you just like stare at it all day? Okay. Shout out to Angie for that. All right. So let's talk about what is your superpower. Your superpower is that you have consciousness. You have awareness. Once you have awareness and you are conscious of what it is that you're become aware of, you have choice. Am I going to choose through my programming, or am I going to choose to attune my consciousness to an intelligence that's within me? Am I going to loop in my programming, or am I going to choose to learn to hold consciousness in a frequency that is stored within me? Your DNA is transcribed to have the experience of what it is to be bioquantum. What does that mean? It means that you start to exist in a frequency beyond what you can experience, measure, see, feel, hear. This is 10% of what we are. Your superpower is the ability to hold consciousness in the other 90%. It's not always easy. But guess what? How to do that is stored within you. It's there for a reason. Because all of those thoughts of I should be able to manifest instantly, I should be able to heal instantly, I shouldn't be aging, all of those thoughts, where are they coming from? They're true, you guys. They're true. We just haven't moved into a frequency where we can consciously be in a reality of that truth. But we still know it's true. And there's a reason for that, because that information is transcribed in you. That is your truth. So before we do an activation, I want to talk a little bit about the difference between projecting and attuning. We have been taught to project. Oh, well, if I want this, I'm going to project it and it's going to happen. I'll visualize it. I'll make my vision board. I'll feel it, and then I'll push that feeling out into the universe and it's going to happen. Where are we projecting from? our programming. So when we have an intention, we're activating a frequency. We let it go. We don't start projecting it. We let it go. Because what happens with the intention is it turns on a frequency in your DNA. So you just look over at this. So it's turning on. And then all of a sudden, your body is starting to activate that frequency. And then what do? We master that fourth level of consciousness with our awareness. Am I attuning to that frequency that's activating within me? Am I listening and doing through this frequency, that source intelligence, because that frequency has an intelligence? Or am I searching through my programming? And how you know is one is clean, it's expansive, it's silence. It feels so good. You don't have to have the answer right away. You just want to rest your consciousness in this frequency. And then when the time is right, you are guided. It takes a lot of spiritual discipline to attune consciousness to a frequency that we cannot see, that we don't understand. It's holding consciousness in an unknown space for a long enough period of time that we receive the answer, the way. Versus trying to make it happen. So the difference is imagining in a rainbow, allowing the rainbow to come to us. And sometimes when we ask, we have to wait for the rainbow to come. I'm going to say one more thing here. So often I will hear, oh, but I can't hear my guidance. I don't hear anything. I don't see anything. I don't get anything. I want you, the next time you have that thought, I just want you to be aware. Is that true? Is that true? Or is it, I don't want to hear what the guidance is? Because every time that we get guidance and we don't respond, we don't go do what the guidance is saying, we start to create static and we start to separate our consciousness from that intelligence within us. And it is a form of self-betrayal because we're choosing fear over our heart, our truth. And if we can at least get to a place where we are choosing consciously, and that could be, I hear the guidance, I hear you, but I am too afraid to do it right now. At least you are being honest and conscious about that choice. And then you say, give me stamina. Activate the frequency of stamina and strength so that I can say yes to an intelligence that I don't understand. And we surrender and we start living our lives that way. Okay. Are we ready? I'm going to have you just reset back into your heart space. We're going to do an activation for your intention. And then we'll open it up to question and answer. All right. So resetting in your intention. All right. So just placing your hand on your heart and just shutting your eyes for just a moment. And as you're placing your hands on your heart, just connecting to that ascended DNA, that is advanced operating system that's holding the intelligence of Source. And if you'd like to breathe in a white blue light, allowing it to trace along the brain and moving down through the spine and out through your mouth as you attune your spinal fluid to the frequency of Source. Letting every cell in your body activate Feeling your cells move into a higher spin state, attuning your body to that frequency of 963, source intelligence. And then go ahead and open your eyes, and I want you to look at the first code. And just gazing at the code, allowing yourself to just, not with your mind, but with your body, meet the frequency of this code. This is the code of the alchemist, the ability to take something in form and bring it into new form. It's the ability to see something shift and change, knowing that form is only there to be brought into a higher frequency and to create new form. This is how we elevate consciousness within the intelligence of Source. And then go ahead and shut your eyes as this code activates in your DNA, releasing that frequency of 963, holding the intelligence of how to create form, how to create your intention in the frequency of 963 or source intelligence. What is it to create something through source? Just feeling that as it activates every cell of your body, upgrading that quantum system, allowing yourself to have the experience of your body in that quantum realm. You can see it like that picture, whatever, however you see your quantum body, just allow yourself to go there. As this code activates, upgrading your software system. It attunes your intention to that frequency of 963. And then opening your eyes again as you look at the second code of Master Creator, the ability to create at the frequency of Source, the ability to be the creator and the creation at the same time. And just feeling that as it activates in your body. Shutting your eyes and just allowing that to expand through that quantum portal of your heart. As it activates your consciousness to experience the intelligence of Source within the creation of your intention. What it is to collaborate within this intelligence, knowing that is always the way. You are the way. Just feeling that as it's activating every cell in your body. Attuning your intention through creator consciousness and mastery. You are already a master. Your job is to attune your consciousness to remember what that is. Feeling yourself as you attune, knowing that your body is releasing this frequency. It's always there for you to go to. And then going to the last code of the eights, that abundance and flow, synchronicities, allowing yourself to meet the frequency and then shutting your eyes. as it activates that magician, the manifester. What is it to manifest in the frequency of source? Allowing that frequency to be released from your body, from your DNA. And now your body is the tuning. It's the tuning fork for your consciousness to attune to. It's right there inside of you. And just letting all of these codes work together, knowing that your quantum technology is fully upgraded to have the experience of bringing your intention into creation through the intelligence of source. And your job is to listen and to do, to take action. So when you're ready, let you go ahead and open your eyes to gallery. All right, so we'll open it up to question and answer discussion. How are you all feeling? Any questions?
I do have a question.
Beautiful. Go ahead, honey. I can't see your name, but
Deanna,
Tiana. Okay. Hi.
so is this what you did to, I guess, counteract your aging or your telomere age?
Yes. So what that, it's all been the journey for me, but the biggest takeaway in this is, where are we holding our consciousness, right? Am I holding it in the programmed experience of my body, in my mind, of my reality? Or am I attuning it to the intelligence that is transcribed in the DNA? And I do that. I release new frequencies every day, and I attune my consciousness. And what starts to happen is the body stops identifying in the environment of the looping cycles. It starts to identify in the frequency. And once we fully merge with that frequency, I mean, honestly, my goal in all of this is just this, like, it's not like a goal that's coming through my mind, right? It's a passion, it's a fire that is lit inside of me. It's like the intelligence is leading the way at this point. I can't turn it off. I'm just, following it, and I'm having my experience consciously. And of course, there's going to be some programming behind it. But it truly is to get my telomere age to 0 years old and my pace of aging to zero. Well, why would I want to do that? Because in that moment, we're proving that our bodies are not supposed to be existing in timelines or looping cycles. We're supposed to be existing in no time, no space. And the only way to do that is to bring observation fully into the intelligence and exist there. And for me, that's exciting. It's fun. It drives me in a way that makes my life magical. So it's not necessarily, oh, that I'm going to do this. It's more of just a way of living. I hope I'm not answering this in the best way, so I apologize for that, but I'm doing my best to kind of bring you into the experience of, it doesn't matter what the intention is, because we're all going the same place. This is just how we start to play in the intelligence. Does that help?
Yeah, that was perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Rebecca?
Yeah, Jules, I wonder if you can speak, if you a little bit to the example you gave of having an intention where you were $1,800 and needing to move to 10,000. And the reason I'm asking is because I have kind of a similar intention around money. And when I'm in the frequency of that intention, I could access it even through the course of this class. And you're exactly right. It feels pure, it feels expansive, it feels beautiful, wonderful, everything. But then I'll be in my day-to-day life and money is so primal. I have so much programming around it that it's hard for me to bridge those two. It's almost like the frequency feels so dissimilar to my day-to-day experience of money that it almost short circuits the whole thing for me. And so I just wonder if you could speak to what that journey was like for you with something like money, because the intention and the frequency does feel so abstract and money is so tangible that it's almost like I can't see how the two go together, if that makes sense.
It's so funny that this is coming up because I literally was just talking about it this morning, in a group session, and I'm going to tell you that my story, because I feel like sometimes learning through story is kind of a nice way to experience it. So, and this is just a small example of where consciousness can shift, because it's not about, oh, I have to hold this high frequency. What it is about is identifying the programs that aren't matching that frequency. And then what do we do in those moments, right? So this was such a pivotal moment for me, and I'll literally never forget it. I mean, I remember what it felt like. I remember at the exact position I was. I was in the shower, believe it or not, because I always say God's in bathroom. But I was in the shower, and I was divorcing my ex-husband. And we did get divorced in the new earth. It was the most loving divorce that I honestly think it was so magically held, but it was a reality where I had a daughter in college. I had a daughter that was in high school. We lived in a very expensive space. My rent was $4,500 a month, and I was paying for my daughter to to college myself. And I was making $1,800 a month, but I knew I needed to do this. There was no choice in whether or not I was getting a divorce. It was the divine had spoken. And I was getting a divorce, right? And but I didn't have, it wasn't my daughter's husband. There was no um alimony and all of that, right? I was on my own. And I was sitting in the shower and I was, how am I going to bring this much more money in? Right. I mean, my life was awesome. And then I was putting myself in the position where it wasn't necessarily going to be awesome anymore. And but I had this business. I was doing that was when I was actually rewiring the brain still in a lot of ways. And I had started my skincare line, which is Eternal Gold Beauty, my first skincare line. And I had the thought, oh, I just need to bring in more customers. Universe, bring me in more customers. Bring me more customers. The people that are ready for what I have to offer, bring them to me. And then right in that moment, it was like everything in me goes. It was like somebody just hit me on the head and it was, look what you just did. I was like, what did I do? You just put an energy out there where you're relying on something else to bring you something. That's not how you do it, I heard. And so I stepped back and I was literally like mid shower and I'm like, and I attuned in that moment. I was like, okay, then what is it? And that frequency released in my body and I started attuning my consciousness to it. And I saw that it's not out there. I need to attune and listen to a frequency that's inside of me. And that was the first thing that I did. As soon as I realized I was trying to go out here to make something happen, it activated and I brought my consciousness into it. And in that moment, I started to see all the programming on how I was trying to manifest. And I allowed myself to stay there. And you know how to do that, honey. You do. You know how to do that. And I'm not saying I was perfect at it. There was still fear. There was still doubt. But every time I would have those feelings or those thoughts, I would ask, okay, release that frequency again so that I have somewhere to go. And I didn't get the answers right then. But it's not about that. What was about is that I was raising my consciousness and I was raising the frequency of my physical body into another experience. And I chose to trust in that over everything else. And it worked. It worked fast, right? And will it work fast for you? I don't know. And does it always work fast? I can say once we really start to master this, we move out of timelines and time doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter. It's when we step out of the creation of something and we look at it that our programming comes in. Oh, well, this might happen and this might happen and this might happen. And then we're starting to get all the filters and all of this stuff through our programming. But if we move back in and we sit here, it's clean, it's clear, it's precise. And then everything in us, because we're so programmed to have that experience. Yeah, but what if this? Oh my gosh, are you silly? What are you doing? You can't be there. It's like you have all those little thoughts in the back that want to pull you back into the program experience because the mind understands that, it entertains that. Well, if I'm having these thoughts, then I'll be safe and I'll know what I'm doing. But all you're recreating is more of your programming. This is much harder. It's not an organic way of living because we've been taught to do everything differently, but it's possible and we're proving it. And it takes a lot of discipline and awareness. And so that's what I'm going to go back to. It's the awareness of what am I agreeing to? And it's the spiritual discipline to allow ourselves to hold consciousness in a frequency that we can't see, that we don't understand, but we know whether or not we're there. I know that's not the answer you're probably looking for, but that's how we do it. It really, really is.
It's perfect. No, you said it perfectly. And I've been so in the middle of this that you spoke directly to the experience that I'm having. And it's like that it's that fear of, can I really trust this? Because it's not the way that we've been trained to live. And so there's a fear there, you know? But when you're squarely in it, it's like, there's nothing better, you know? Um, so this was perfect. Thank you so much, Jules. Thank you. I can't wait to listen to it again.
Beautiful. And one other thing I want to say, and I say this a lot, is, we can only do our best to listen to the intelligence. And depending on how much training we have and being able to hold our consciousness in a frequency over our programming, there's going to be a gap between our consciousness and the intelligence. But the intelligence is always the intelligence, right? It doesn't change. It's us that changes. It's like, am I hitting it here or am I hitting it here? And then that'll create our experience. So the training is, how do I hold consciousness here? But part of the training is also having the awareness of, am I choosing this or am I choosing the programming? And that awareness really is everything, because when we make a choice that from our heart space of, yes, this is what's right for me. Yes, this is the direction I'm supposed to go in. Something happens that we have something to rely and remember. It's like, oh, I call it the inception point. What was the inception point of that choice? Was I in my programming because I wanted $10,000 so that I can feel free and not have to work and I don't have to worry about anything anymore and my life is wonderful? Probably projection of consciousness, right? Probably. Or was it, okay, I'm going to ask to bring in $10,000 a month so that I can practice saying yes to the intelligence within me. That's a frequency that is way outside of what my experience is right now. And then am I willing to listen and do to that frequency that was released? And if I'm making choices from there, when I go into fear and doubt, I have somewhere to go back to. Where did I make the choice from? Where did this start from? Oh, yeah, it started from that collaboration between me and the intelligence within me, so that I can find out how powerful I am from a place of purity, not from, oh, I'm so powerful. It's empowerment, right? I'll leave it at that. Does anybody else have, thank you, Rebecca. Does anybody else have a share or a question? All right, so where to go from here? Well, I'll have this recording up in the YouTube channel, so if you want to go back and kind of play in it again, but you have your intention, you've been activated. Now go explore that consciously. So it's attuning versus projecting. It's listening. And guess what? It's doing. Projecting isn't doing. Doing is when you are given guidance that you go take action. You take action. You actually have to do something. The days of praying and putting vision boards and holding an emotion and projecting your prayers and then thinking that somebody's going to knock on the door and hand you $1,000 is over. Now you activate the frequency. You move into your heart space, that quantum portal. You hold your consciousness and the intelligence. You will be given guidance, and then you go do it. And then you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again, and life becomes your treasure hunt. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't get to know what's actually being manifested. You just do what you're told. And then one day you turn around and you go, oh my gosh, how did I get here? It's so much better than anything I could have possibly imagined. That's what it is to manifest outside of your programming. So now we'll go back to that first question. Red pill, blue pill. Am I here to have a human experience and continue to manifest through my programming? Or am I here to have a bioquantum experience and manifest through the intelligence that is transcribed in my DNA? Source intelligence. Am I here to experience what it is to be in the intelligence of source? There's no right or wrong. You get to choose. All right, my lovelies. Thank you for this amazing time. I honor you in your journey, and wherever you are in your journey, know that there's no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong. Right or wrong is programming. Rest in the intelligence.
Can I ask a question?
Of course. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, this is about chronic pain, chronic injury that's been going on for like 10 years. Is there a way that, I mean, I've tried many things. Is there a way, I mean, part of me believes that I can shift it, but I mean, what would you recommend for something like this?
So it's learning to train consciousness to be held in a frequency outside of the program of the pain itself. I can say for me personally, I don't know if you know my story, but I actually have a severe spine injury where I'm supposed to be partially paralyzed in
Wow.
my left arm. And it is still there, right? It's still there. But I hold my consciousness in a frequency above it to where I am not having that experience in my body.
Mm.
That takes training, right? That there's tools that we use to be able to hold our consciousness in abstract frequency. That is the most difficult thing to do, is to learn, but it's something that we can all learn, right? And so I know that's not necessarily answering your question, but what I would have you do, just a simple little tool to take away with, is now you saw that picture of the quantum body, that light body, right?
Yes.
So when you're in pain, what I want you to do is go into your heart space, and I want you to ask for a frequency of what your body is beyond the pain. Okay, so that's your intention. And then I want you to just take a moment and turn on that frequency. And like me doing it right now, I'm hoping that you can feel it in your body, that you start to feel something turn on in your body. Can you feel that?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so now I want you to put that frequency into that quantum body. And now I want you to bring the injury or the pain into your quantum body as well. Just upload it into your quantum system. And then I want you to bring your consciousness into the system. And that's going to be the hardest part, because you're going to want to identify in the pain because that's what you know. But just keep doing it over and over again. Just keep pushing your consciousness into that system, into the frequency that was released. And that's your practice. You do it
Mm.
over and over and over again. And it's just like a muscle, right? Because that part of your experience is just as real, but it takes practice because it's not what we're taught. So start there. That's a little takeaway, and see what that does for you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Okay. All right, everyone. So much love to all of you, and hope to see you. And definitely stay tuned for the rest of the weekend. There's going to be some amazing, you guys, this is the best summit yet. Every single one of these interviews blew my mind. So definitely tune into them. They're going to be live on YouTube. They're in your portal. The free gifts are in your portal. So if you haven't signed up yet, definitely go sign up for the summit. And some of the free gifts are amazing as well. So I just want to do a little shout out before we get off. Okay, love you all.